Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
We're starting late because we were having some technical issues.
Which isn't unheard of.
No, I'm still hearing an echo in my AirPods. So, can anyone else hear an echo, or is it just me? Do you hear an echo, Nancy?
I don't hear an echo.
Maybe it's just me. I don't know. Okay, I swapped our overhead cams. Oh man. Yeah, I
You
don't
are
know if
not
I'm
the
going to be
only
able to
one.
handle
No echo,
hearing my
no
voice
echo.
twice. I don't know if I'm going to be able to understand this. I honestly don't know what's going on. Okay.
It's staticky. No echo.
Anyhow, okay, it is what it is. We'll just deal with it. Hi, everyone. Oh, you are getting an echo from me. Just give me a second.
Okay.
Oh, that's
How
way
about
better.
now? Is that way better?
Yeah.
Any echo?
No echo.
Well, must be the wine glass.
Yeah, that's what it is.
That could be it. Okay, so here we are. Thank you. Monday Night Live. It works fine when I'm by myself.
Well, you know, we're cutting edge. We need to experiment.
It is what it is. Okay. I'm just wondering, maybe I should take these out altogether. Is that all right?
Same.
Can you hear me?
The same.
Okay, but now I'm not hearing an echo from me. So we'll just take the AirPods out. It's all good. It's all good. Hello, everyone. Hello. So this is the first that I'm doing it with one of my creative team. And what we wanted to do, because the store is opening up and we have been teaching online for almost 2 years. So you may be familiar with who Nancy is. But Nancy and I decided that we wanted to take Monday Night Lives and use it as an opportunity to introduce you to someone from our creative team. Nancy was the first one to step up. I don't remember if you stepped up or if I just volunteered you to do it.
It was going to happen eventually.
Yeah. So hopefully I get some of my other creative team, Heather, because I know you're watching, to come on a Monday Night Live with me, just to help introduce you to our creative team. So Nancy has been with us almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years.
I guess it will be 2 years in June.
I feel like I just had my 1 year, like yesterday.
I'm pretty sure it's June.
It is June.
Yeah. So almost 2 years. And I originally hired Nancy on to be our creative team manager. I needed someone to help me with the classes because the store was getting busier. Even though we were in lockdown and the store actually physically wasn't open, the interest in our classes really took off and I was having trouble keeping up. So Nancy and I had met through, you were coming to our Crop for Causes, I believe. And so Correct. Nancy and I met and we chatted and I love Nancy. And I was like, this could be a person who would be really great on my creative team. So we started talking. I offered her the position and she said, sure. And I don't even really think she realized what she was agreeing to.
Well, it started at 5 hours a week.
It started at 5 hours a week and now it's like 20.
20.
But that's good.
I like it. It's great. I love my job.
Nancy's official title is Creative Team Manager. So any of you who have taken our classes and have got an email from classes@paperandinkboutique.com, that is Nancy. So why don't you tell people what you do as our creative team manager?
Well, the first thing I do is the instructors come to me and they say, I've got an idea, or I want to work with this paper, or I want to work with this technique, or they have some brilliant idea and they come to me and they say, what do you think? And I always want to say yes. But the first thing I do is I stop and I look at them and I say, well, how does that fit for that month? So say with April coming up, and 2 people want to work with the new Minte projects, I might have to say, well, you know what? That's a lot of Minte for 1 month. Why don't we have you do it in May and then somebody else does it in June? So I kind of work on the scheduling and try to make sure there's a good variety for everybody. I try to make sure that teachers aren't kind of veering into the lanes of another teacher and teaching something they would prefer to teach. Mind you, most of our teachers kind of have a niche, so I don't have any issues with that really particularly. It's just kind of a bit of a, just a last check to make sure that, that lots of good varieties out there and not too much crossover and things. And then the teacher has to come to me with we call it the cut and paste sheet. And they love me for that.
Yeah.
They love that I ask them to do that. No, but we schedule a date and time. So then they create this kind of handout that I use as kind of my first draft, and I go through and I make sure everything's correct, that they refer to the products the same as we do on the website. And so I have to play around with the cut and paste. So they give the first draft to me. I go through it, make sure the class description's good, and jazzy and interesting, and tells people what they want to know about the class. And then I turn that into the graphics. So I make the handouts and anything you see on the website and the online store, I post it. And after that's done, then I actually watch Facebook to make sure you guys are using your QR codes and getting into the groups. And I make sure that you all get put into the groups, follow up and make sure if you haven't in the groups, I make sure that you're invited, things like that. So yeah, I kind of
basically everything that happens with a class from the time it's conceived by the teacher to the time that it is streaming live on Facebook, that's Nancy.
Yeah. The Zoom, the QR codes, all the tech. Teachers don't come in and they don't know how to do that. I train them in that. Yeah.
That is all Nancy.
And I love it.
Okay. So, Dawn Marone's here. Hi, Dawn. She says she's looking for inspiration. Looks like I found it. I love distress products. Who else loves distress products? I do. I love distress. Here we are. Love distress. I have been a fan of distress since Distress Inks came out. And I can't believe that is almost 20 years ago. Is that
I think it's more. I think the first one that came out, I wasn't even married, and I don't even think I had met Al yet. And it was Vintage Photo.
Yeah.
And we've been together for almost 30 years.
Yes. Yeah. I know, forever, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start creating. We're going to focus on distress glazes. Now, distress glazes, now Nancy, you can start. You can start. I'm going to make you solo your overhead cam. I'm going to talk about the embossing glazes. So if you're unfamiliar with embossing glazes, these are, actually, let me do this. Embossing glazes are a translucent, they are a translucent embossing powder. But what makes them different is the translucentness. So what are you using? Ooh, saltwater taffy. Love it. So depending on the color you put underneath will change the color of the embossing glaze. So Nancy, it looks like she's working on a tag. I'm actually working on, this is a piece of paper out of my Art by Marlene art journal, and I'm using one of the craft pages. So that's what I'm going to do. And it really, Dawn, you're going to be so happy because it's really all about distress tonight. So Nancy, you're blending saltwater taffy on a tag, right?
I am. I've got it. I wanted to see what Kitsch Flamingo and saltwater taffy look like together, but I'm desperate to find out because when saltwater taffy came out, not having abandoned coral beside it, I thought they were really close, but look how not close they are.
Yes, they are not close at all.
Not close, not even slightly.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, Nancy is starting with Distress Oxides blending. I'm actually going to start with some sprays. I'm going to start with a mustard seed. This way, let me swap me in there. I'm going to start with a mustard seed oxide spray and a carved pumpkin spray stain. And again, if you're unfamiliar with these distress products, the oxide spray is going to give you a opaque, chalky feel to it. The spray stains are translucent. Okay. So, oops, and I'm falling behind on my comments here. Oh, and Heather says that she loves using distress glazes on wood and chipboard embellishments. Yes, that is a great way to use them. Oh, and of course, I've chosen the one that's not going to spray. Okay, so what I'm going to do, my distress spray stain is not spraying, so I'm actually just going to pour a little bit on my craft mat. I'm going to spray a little bit of water. Now I'm going to take my Art by Marlene craft. I'm just going to lay that in there. Just want to get some of the background. So I'm going to create a background, and then I'm going to apply glaze to it. Okay. Hello, Leanne from Red Deer. I've never done distressing before. There's oxide sprays. Great. Now I have a new addiction. Yes, there is oxide sprays. Sorry that you didn't know that. Yeah. Okay, so I've got, that's not dry yet, but I'm just going to set it aside because now I want to take my yellow mustard seed oxide spray. Going to spray some of it on that mat. Again, I have left the carved pumpkin spray stain on there. I'm going to add a little bit more water. And let's start adding some oxide to the spray stain. I mean, come on, look at that. Some people think you can't mix oxides with the spray stains. You absolutely can, and they will give you amazing results.
All right. This will be my first one with the new color, Wilted Violet.
Okay, here, I'm going to swap you back in, Nancy. All
right. So I actually went through a stencil with some embossing ink. So I used my wow. And I dabbed it through this beautiful Tracy Scott stencil. I'm trying to find the number because I know somebody will ask. This is PS 306. Woo! That's gonna be cool.
Ooh, that's pretty. Okay, sorry. Wilted violet over top of saltwater taffy.
And kitsch flamingo and abandoned coral. I kind of did a triple blend.
Okay, so before you heat that up, hold it up to your camera. Okay, so explain again what you use, what colors.
Okay, right at the top, I used kitsch flamingo. In the middle, I went for saltwater taffy. At the very bottom, I went for abandoned coral. Then I purposely left in this bottom corner a white so we could compare.
Okay, and it's Wilted Violet Embossing Glaze.
Correct.
Okay, so remember what that looks like now, because when she heats it, just watch how it's going to change. And this is where you'll see how the colors below the glaze will affect the glaze. I'm still drying. I'm still on my first layer.
Yikes. Oh, don't worry. I plan to do something more messy for my next one. And apparently know how to mess my desk up too. Just a sec. Yes, Maria, it's a purple embossing powder, but they call it a glaze because of, you'll see in a minute, it's very translucent and beautiful.
Yes, they are embossing glazes, so they will need to be heated to set.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, watch. Okay, Nancy, dazzle us.
I like to heat my gun up for a sec.
Okay, Jennifer Yoland. How does, oops, where did that go? How does the embossing glaze stick? Because Nancy is using a Distress Oxide, and Distress Oxide has pigments in it, that is how the embossing glaze is sticking, because the oxides have a pigment ink in them and they stay sticky. Yeah. You can use an embossing ink, but you can use just plain oxides. Yeah. Yes, you can use just the oxide because it has the pigment in it, which stays sticky, which stays wet. So if you don't heat set, so
could you use oxide instead of ink? Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
What I'll tell you about the oxide is it's a mixed water and pigment, so it takes a little longer to dry. So it itself is embossable, and hey, I should try that. It's nice. And still kind of has some great blending properties, and
yeah.
The only thing is Distress Oxide and Distress Ink. The big difference is probably the pigment, and the pigment and the oxide part gives it a little bit of a white, chalky look finish, whereas the Distress Ink tends to be a little more vibrant.
Correct. Yes. The pigment.
Okay, so there it is. So if I held it this way the first time, so you can see the glaze on the white, and there, abandoned coral, saltwater taffy, and kitsch flamingo. But I'm going to keep going, and maybe I think I'll have some other ideas I want to try. I just basically grabbed myself a stack of the Dina Wakley tags just to play and see what happens tonight. I wasn't looking to finish anything or have a finished project.
We're here just to, do some techniques. And if you have questions, let us know and we'll answer them. I'm going to swap my camera in now. So
yeah.
this here, this is, and I'm going to point it out. This is the carved pumpkin. spray stain. And this part where it looks milky or chalky, that is the oxide spray. So that is the difference here. So you can see I've got some that's bright, some that's chalky. And remember, I used mustard seed and carved pumpkin. So that's what I've got there. Now I'm going to add some stamping. This is dry. I'm just going to add some stamping. Where did my ink go? Just going to create a background. There we go. Just added a little bit of stamping. Just going to dry this quick. And now I'm going to show you. What I used, Jackie, is this. I used Distress Spray Stain Carved Pumpkin. And I used Mustard Seed Oxide Spray. Those are the two I used. Okay. I want to dry this. Okay, now what I'm going to use some texture paste. I'm going to use, this is a new Jofi stencil. This is PS310. PS310. This is what it looks like. This is from one of her latest release. I'm going to put it on. I'm going to use texture paste with my embossing glazes. So I'm going to take my palette knife. Going to put my texture paste down. I don't normally use the entire stencil, but I'm going to do this one because I'm actually going to use several of my embossing glazes. Okay. Yes, tags are great because they just give you a little space to play. And then even if you're just trying techniques, you can put them on a binder clip or on a ring and then just save them because those can be your, if you're feeling maybe in a bit of a creative funk, you can flip through your tags and get inspiration. So usually when I create some technique tags is I will write on the back, what did I do? What did I use? What techniques did I use? Because then, 6 months down the road, when I'm looking at it, I will remember and be like, oh my gosh, yes, I remember that technique worked really well. I'm going to use that on a scrapbooking page, or I'm going to use that on a card or in my art journal. So making technique tags is a great idea. When you see, Tim doing something or maybe Jennifer McGuire, and you're like, well, I don't have anything to make right now with that, but I'm just going to make a technique tag using those techniques that they showed me so that, 6 months or a month or a year down the road, I will remember. Okay, so there is my texture paste, okay, on my background. Now, one thing you have to remember, because I use Distress oxides and inks on the back, my embossing or my texture paste is another wet, a wet media. So it's actually going to activate these colors. So that's why you're seeing the orange come through. It's actually drawing that color up, which I think is really cool. Okay, let me grab. Just going to grab a piece of paper here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do several colors on this. So let me take, this is wild honey. Let me take some wild honey.
Ah, that's cool.
Okay, next I'm going to take, let me take some saltwater taffy. What else? I just randomly grabbed colors. I didn't even like pay attention to what I was grabbing. This one is speckled egg. Speckled egg. And one more. What should I do? What's this one? Prize ribbon. Let's do prize ribbon. Oh, I've never even used this one. That's exciting.
I just used prize ribbon.
I haven't even.
That's funny.
That is funny. Okay. So while we're doing this, one other thing I want to touch on is not only is Nancy one of our creative team manager, but she is also one of our instructors. So she actually does teach classes.
I do.
Really do it all, Nancy.
I like to be helpful.
Okay. So there's my embossing glazes on top of my texture paste. My texture paste is still wet. I put the embossing glazes on, and now I'm going to heat. Now, I will warn you, when you heat texture paste, you may get some bubbling. Some of you may freak out when that bubbles. I don't freak out because I actually like the texture of it. So if you don't want your texture paste to bubble when you heat it, what you need to do at this point is you would set this aside and let it dry. When your texture paste is dry, then you take your heat to it and heat it up. You don't have to heat it up.
Does it always bubble with the heat? No, I think some of it is about if you hold your gun too long, if you move your gun around a little bit more, it won't bubble. Sometimes people will heat from underneath. That'll help it not bubble.
I like the bubbling.
I like the bubbling. Like don't be afraid of the bubbling.
See, it puffs up. It puffs up, but then once it starts to cool down, it flattens out again for the most part. There are a little bit of bubbles. But like I said, if you don't want it to bubble, what you can do, pour your embossing glazes on it, and then set it aside to let it dry naturally, to let that texture paste dry. When that happens, when everything is dry, then you can come back and heat it. You may still get some bubbling, but it won't be as severe as when you're doing it wet. But I like it. Like, it's so cool, the texture of it. But I know some of you
I gotta talk about this one. I just tried something I wanted to share.
Okay, just a second. Moving you back. There we go. Oh, no, wrong one. There we go.
All right. So basically, up and down. Okay. So I took my Wow embossing pad and I just rubbed it all over the tag and embossed the wilted violet down as my first layer. So Then I thought, okay, now what am I going to do, right? Because I've got this purple tag, so I wanted to play with it a bit. So I used this stencil, another beautiful Tracy Scott paper artsy. Can you see a trend of my faves? I don't know. PS305 with all these flowers, and I just used it. I'll just show you quickly. I just put it down, and then I used a foam on a blending tool and picked up some ink with my from my ink pad and just smooshed it through the stencil, just like that. And then I embossed it again with prize ribbon. And then I did it one more time with speckled egg just to see. And I even overlapped a bit. And what I noticed was the speckled egg kind of created this sort of grayish, purplish, shadowy look flower. And then over top of the darker prize ribbon, it disappeared. But that's okay because now the dark blue flower is getting a good pop on there. So it was just something to experiment with, and I highly encourage you to give it a try.
Okay. Thank you, Nancy. That was wicked. Let me come in here. Okay, so I'm just starting with a piece of white cardstock. Just stamping on the background. Nothing too special. I am going to take saltwater taffy oxide because I'm loving the saltwater taffy right now. And I'm going to stamp with the saltwater taffy, and then I'm going to put all my different colors of embossing glazes on it. Okay. I love the embossing glazes, and what I do is when there's a new color, I love stamping. Where did my where beside me? I love trying the new oxide color with different colors of embossing glazes. It's just such a cool effect. Okay, so I'm just taking a stamp. This one, ESC 28. This is a stamp cozy one.
Great, Julia. Now I want that stamp.
Obviously, I've used the stamp a lot with my fingers, so now it's not sticking. Okay. So Distress Oxide, saltwater taffy. Okay. There we go. Let me come in with saltwater taffy. Let's just do saltwater taffy on saltwater taffy.
Oh, Julia's getting serious. I got my palette knife out.
Yikes. So saltwater taffy on saltwater taffy. Now what I'm going to do, just going to move that up. Stamp it again, saltwater taffy.
You can do this one. Are you guys leaving?
Who are you talking to, Nancy?
I have a guest dog.
Oh,
I don't have a dog. It's my own, but I have my sister-in-law's dog has come for a visit.
no.
And he's decided he wants to be with me the most. Say hi, Hank.
Okay,
Hey.
so I stamped. Oh, look at that cutie.
Isn't he look like Dakota?
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so this I've stamped saltwater taffy and put speckled egg glaze on top of saltwater taffy.
Sorry about that for the interruption. Doggy interruption.
Okay. So the same Distress ink on the base, saltwater taffy with saltwater taffy glaze, saltwater taffy oxide with speckled egg. So you can see how the blue over the pink has given you kind of like a purpley color. Okay. So let me stamp this again and we'll keep trying different colors. So let me put that in there.
I think Hank just stole the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do need a dog. I'd love a dog.
Okay, so remember, all I'm using is saltwater taffy. I've lost my piece of paper. Oh, there it is. Okay, let's use wild honey. Oh, I think I found my new favorite combo, Nancy. Wild honey and saltwater taffy.
Oh my word, that's gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
Okay,
Okay,
what I'm giving a go here is I put down a full layer of saltwater taffy, and I've got my paper artsy paints, and I put down a layer and just kind of a heavy cream white. It's called heavy cream. And I'm going to glaze over some of it and see what happens.
So using glaze over top of paint.
Yeah.
Okay, so
let's see what happens. But I want the paint to dry first because I want to control it. Ooh, I think I should try that. That would look cool. I've got this new stamp set I haven't even played with yet. Dina Wakely's Remarkable. I'm going to use these hearts, and I'm going to emboss ink those down and then glaze it. See what happens. I'm considering crackling campfire.
Ooh, nice. Hey, I just used crackling campfire embossing glaze over top of saltwater taffy. So I'm just doing, so what? Oh, just wait. Let me put me back here in the spotlight because it's all about me. There we go. Okay, so I just want to point out, these were all stamped with saltwater taffy Distress Oxide. All of these were stamped with Distress saltwater taffy oxide. And then this one is using, I put the saltwater taffy embossing glaze over top of it. There you go. That's this one here. This one stamped with Distress Oxide saltwater taffy. And I used the Wild Honey embossing glaze. So it kind of gives it like this slight, it may not show up on camera very well, but it is slightly pink. This one here, saltwater taffy and speckled egg embossing glaze. This one here, saltwater taffy ink and salvage patina. So because I put blue over top of pink, each of them have given me kind of a different, hi Sharon, have kind of given me a different purpley look to it, kind of like this deep mauve look. And then this was crackling campfire embossing glaze over top of the saltwater taffy oxide. So you can see using the same ink, different glazes, you get a different look, right? Okay, now we're going to mix it up. I'm going to do different colors. Oh, your saltwater ink arrived today. Awesome, Julie. Okay, so this was saltwater taffy oxide stamped with different colors on top of glazes. So now what I'm going to do is we are going to do the exact same stamp, but we're going to stamp with different colors of oxides and only use saltwater taffy.
Whoa.
Whoa, really mixing it up a little bit here.
So Jennifer, I see your saltwater taffy is on its way. You're lucky. Because I did a silly thing and loaded up my cart and didn't hit send. So I didn't get in on, I only managed to get an ink pad.
The rest came in today, Nancy.
It came in today.
Yeah.
I'll be there tomorrow.
Okay. I'm stamping now Salty Ocean.
Online shopping.
Yeah, Distress Oxide Salty Ocean. And I'm going to use saltwater taffy. And I just remembered I didn't stamp the background like I was going to. Completely lost my train of thought.
Yeah, that happens. So I love what happened to this tag here.
Oh, second. Give me a second.
You betcha. You got all the time you need.
There we go.
So, as I said, I just put down I just took my ink pad and I smooshed down a layer of the saltwater taffy on the tag. And then I spritzed it with a bit of water, get a bit of movement, but it didn't change too much. But then I put through a stencil, the Paper Artsy Heavy Cream paint, but then I embossed over top with the Crackling Campfire and the Dina Wakley stamp. So, of course, I tried to dry the paint up, but it didn't dry completely. So it did pick up a little bit of the embossing powder. But I wasn't worried. I wasn't upset with that because that to me is texture. This this is not going to be a focal point for me. This is going to be a background. So anything like that to me is just like juicy awesomeness. So, but if you see here, right in the middle of her heart, the heart from the background stencil picked up really cool. So sometimes there's little happy accidents that you can find. But again, you can see how the crackling campfire looks on the saltwater taffy. It looks really beautiful.
Okay.
I kind of want to play with that technique a little more too. I'm going to try something else. Some of this ink is left over.
So next, this is, I stamped Wild Honey Oxide. That's Wild Honey Distress Oxide. And I'm going to put saltwater taffy over it.
Sweet. Got some paint left here, so I'm just going to smoosh it on my tag and start there and see what happens.
I am seriously loving Wild Honey with saltwater taffy. I liked it here. So these two here, if I can pull it up. This was saltwater taffy distress oxide with wildflower. Oh, with wild honey embossing glaze over top. And then this was wild honey oxide with saltwater taffy embossing glaze on top. So it doesn't matter how you do it. It's yes, like it's science. I just love the combinations. It's just so cool. Okay, so this one here, this was the Salty Ocean with saltwater taffy. So it does have a bit of a purpley undertone to it. And then let me try another color. So I've tried orange, I've tried blue. Let me try my bag of tricks here. Let's try Fire Brick.
I just noticed something, Julia. I'm using stencils and you're using stamps. What's up?
I did use a stencil.
Okay.
I did use a stencil here. Remember this one?
Okay, right.
Which let me tell you, this feels really cool. That feels amazingly cool. So Monica Rosowski, do speckled egg with saltwater taffy glaze. Did I bring?
Yay, Heather. So notice her comment. She says if you hit notify on the online store, if colors are sold out, you'll get notified when they are back.
Yes. I don't know if I brought speckled egg. I don't know if I brought that one home with me. I don't think I've got speckled egg here. Do you happen to have speckled egg distress oxide?
I do.
Yeah, I don't have.
I have speckled egg glaze and oxide.
Monica would like to see stamped. Oh my goodness, where'd it go? Speckled egg ink with saltwater taffy glaze.
I don't have the glaze.
Oh, you don't have the glaze. Oh,
I missed out.
You don't have the glaze and I don't have the ink. I'm sorry, Monica, but we can't do that because
maybe we'll do one up tomorrow and post it for you.
Yeah, we'll do that one up tomorrow. Okay, so I'm doing Fire Brick Oxide with saltwater taffy.
That's figures, right?
Figures. And we don't.
Yeah, I had every plan on having the saltwater taffy.
And we don't live close enough that I can just run over to your house and grab it or send Glenn or something.
Not really.
Oh,
when we're in the old folks' home, maybe.
Okay, so this was fired. Oops, that's not all completely melted. There we go. Fire brick with saltwater taffy on top of it. So it turns it into like this really deep, this extremely deep red color. It's absolutely gorgeous, right? So, I mean, I'm just having fun, just coloring, just making changes of colors, just like, what else can we do? I know this isn't speckled egg, but it's salvage patina. So let me try salvage patina. Let's see what it does.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, let me go back to Nancy. What are you doing, Nancy?
So I put the paint down that I had left over on my tag. I just kind of used my palette knife and smoothed it on the tag. Then I embossed glazed with wilted violet the flower. And now just to see, wilted violet with wilted violet, what would happen, I just decided to kind of blend over top. And wherever the glaze didn't get picked up, it's there. I'm even going to give that a spray and move it around and see what happens. Here, I'll bring it close to the cam too. Look. Oh, look what the paint's doing with the water, giving a bit of a resist. So now I've got a choice. I can leave that to dry, or I could run some paper towel over it and see what happens. Choices, I tell you, sometimes.
I made a boo-boo, Nancy.
Oh, that's what this is for, isn't it?
I stamped my salvage patina, and then before I put the embossing glaze on it, I dried it. So I was like, oh, that's not doing anything.
Yeah, Sharon, the stencil is PS305. I just put embossing powder through it. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to dry this up.
Okay, so now I will try and remember to put the embossing glaze over top of the salvage patina.
Wow, this is cool.
There we go. Oops. And back to me. So this is salvage patina distress oxide with the saltwater taffy embossing glaze over top of it. So it just gives you this kind of purpley blue color is what it gives you. Now, what Nancy was saying, because these are a glaze, that means that they will act as a resist. So if you wanted to take, let me grab.
See, it resisted.
Oh, hang on. There you go. What is that?
I put a small base layer of paper artsy paint. Then I glazed with wilted violet. And then I did a layer of I blended wilted violet over top and sprayed it and let it go all around, and that's what I ended up with. Go all around, that's the technical term. So yeah, so the glaze resisted the oxide, but then there is actually because I dried it with my heat gun, there's little rivulets of oxide that kind of sat on top and dried in place.
Very cool.
Yeah. Really liking that one. That's going to be fun.
Okay, so what I am doing, I'm going to come back here. Because these are glazes, they will cause a resist. So I just took this one here and I took Distress Ink Festive Berries and Distress Oxide Spice Marmalade, and I blended them over top of a couple of my stamped images here. Now I'm going to take a clean piece of paper towel and I'm going to go in and I'm going to rub back the ink that's sitting on top of the glaze. So you can see how the oxides have resisted the ink. Like, I love how that one looks. That is so cool. Yeah, very cool. So yes, the embossing glazes will be a resist.
I'm really going off the rails. I have no idea how this is going to turn out.
Oh, what
But I've
stamp
got
is
Therese Paper Artsy paint out.
So this stamp is from Scrap Cozy. She designed it for Paper Artsy, and it's ESC28. There we go. I'm going to go back to you, Nancy, while I reset and try and figure out what I'm going to do next.
Okay. I've got my Paper Artsy paints out. I'm just going to see how things go. Yeah, so this is the kind of, when you have a new product, this is the kind of thing to do. Just sit down and grab a little stack of cardstock or tags or whatever, and just combine your products and just see what happens. There's no loss here. But you just play. You know what I am going to do, though? I've got the same stencil. So this stencil is PS307. I'm going to layer. I'm going to give this a quick dry. I don't know what I'm doing. What am I going to do? Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, let me tell you what I'm going to do.
Okay, I'm going to give this a quick dry and I'll be right back.
Okay. I'm going to do a background blend. Oops, I got the wrong one. I'm going to do a Distress ink blend on my back. On my card here, I'm going to use saltwater taffy, ripe persimmon, and spice marmalade. I'm going to blend it back. And then I'm just going to use plain embossing ink. Just going to use plain embossing ink, stamp on my background, and then
I didn't know what I was doing, Heather.
Oh, and then emboss images on my background. Okay, now I'm going to go back to Nancy because you don't need to sit here and watch me blend these inks. And back to you, Nancy.
And back to me. Okay, so what I'm actually going to do, so Heather said offset the stencil and use the glaze, but I'm going to kind of combine two ideas. So the stencil sat here for me when I did the Charisse with the paint. I'm just going to slightly move it by millimeters. But what I'm actually going to do is just to show you that the oxides are embossable. I'm going to go in with the Wilted Violet oxide and just apply a generous amount through the stencil. Great minds do think alike. Yeah, it moved, so I'm done. Good thing I was done. I was close to done. So I'm going to glaze over that, and just with Wilted Violet again. So you can kind of see what Wilted Violet glaze, if it pops it a little bit more. Glaze onto the same color. Okay, so let's give it a dry. Pretty cool.
Oh my goodness, that is friggin' amazing.
Yeah, so that's just Wilted Violet Distress Oxide ink, and then I embossed it with the Wilted Violet glaze. Coolio.
That looks very cool. It almost kind of gives it this weird 3D look.
It really does. Actually, the colors would for sure, right? Yeah, and you can actually, I don't know if you can catch it on camera, you can kind of see the cerise kind of peeking through the purple a little bit. All right. I'll try that one again with some other colors.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so I've got my blended background. Where did my, here we go. Just going to put it back on mine. Okay, so there's my blended background. Saltwater taffy, ripe persimmon, spice marmalade. Okay, those three colors there on my background. Saltwater taffy, ripe persimmon, spice marmalade. I'm going to give it a quick dry, and then we're going to do some stamping and embossing glazes over top of the thing. What are you making, Nancy?
Sure, and that could be a year from now. Finish tags once I use them.
Yeah. Yeah. What does that mean?
Does that mean I have to finish a project?
Sharon, you're funny. Oh, why are we getting feedback all of a sudden? Sorry about that.
Oopsies.
I am so. Why is that?
What did you do? The wine glass again. Yeah. They're kind of crafty, those. Not crafty. They're not very craft supporting is what they are.
Figured it out.
All right. So what I've done for mine, since I'm here, I put down this stencil that I'm using with saltwater taffy. Now I've offset it with just a little by kind of raising it. So I went over it again with, oh, what is this? Mustard seed. And the stencil is PS 306. And I'm actually going to do it one more time. And I'm going to do it with oh, what do I want to use? I thought would be good. Speckled egg? Maybe. Yeah. I'm going to put one more layer and I'm going to obviously move it. But I might not do the whole stencil this time. So this time, rather than using Distress Oxide ink, I'm just going to go ahead and use the embossing pad. As soon as I find it. This is me in crafting. Oh, here it is. It's under everything else, right here. And okay. I wasn't just playing. I might actually mask off part of the stencil just to keep into where I want it to be, but I'm just having fun. So I'm just gonna apply the ink through the stencil just like I have. Yeah, Jennifer, I'm carrying it, but you know what? We know how to spell each other off, so to speak. Okay. We're good that way. All right, so I'm going to use, I said, speckled egg. Let's hope it works. Well, that could be pretty. All right. Or not. So what's happened here is expected is some of the distress layers in the bottom are still pretty moist. So they've picked up but what you can do if it's, well, I don't know if it's as bad as I think, because I think what's going on is the layers are fooling me. But if you ever have, right before you heat, you can always just take a little brush and just kind of knock off some of the embossing powder that's stray, that's gone off where it doesn't belong. Okay, so it came out like that. I have to admit, my favorite part of this was before I did the glazing over top. It's still pretty cool, right, Sharon? But I think what I would do is, if I was going to glaze over this background again, and I think I'll give myself a second chance here, I would actually switch it up. I would actually do my background with the 2 Distress Oxide inks, and then I might actually do a stamp instead. I think that in this particular case, I'm not loving the outcome. That's okay. Actually, kind of has a bit of a sunflower feel to it. So, whoops, went off camera. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. You gonna try to come back? Apparently not. I'm not too sure what to say about what's going on with Julia. I know we had, yeah, exactly, Renee. Stencil a word background or something. That would be super cool. So we actually had this problem before we started, and it was kind of why we were late. And then we solved it, but the problem is I'm not 100% sure that we figured out what the issue was to begin with. But it went, yeah, Glenn's not back. Well, I don't know if I've ever heard Glenn make those noises before. Anyway, so yeah, so that's what's kind of going on here for Julia. I think we kind of had it figured out, and then I think it really just comes down to, you know, we haven't done the group thing, and then trying to figure out, well, you know, tech can be a real bear. But anyway, I'm going to give this one a go again, because I really loved it. I have a feeling it has huge potential. So I remember Julia was kind of interviewing me earlier. I guess this is your opportunity too. What do you want to know about me? Do you want to know? Let's see. Wow, let's see. I could be her voiceover. She just has to go to her. Let's see. What can I tell you about me?
Hello?
Hello.
I'm not getting.
No, you're not.
I have no idea what's going on.
We don't. Like I said, we're
honestly
trying.
don't. I don't know what's going on.
What's my crafting passion? Oh my word, that's a hard one, Monica. I think if I had to rank them, how did I get into crafting? Oh, there's another one. Oh, I wonder if I have that book down here. No, I'll have to post it later. But there was a crafting store. I don't even think it was just a crafting store. I think it was kind of a crafting novelty store in Riverbend. Way back, probably Riverbend, Calgary, Alberta. And it was called Alley Cats. And it was the first Mrs. Grossman Stickers had a workshop. And I went to this workshop, and she taught us how to make scenes with stickers. Yes, Alley Cats. So Mrs. Grossman herself taught the class. So I showed up, and I saw all the scrapbook stuff, and I hadn't even heard of scrapbooking, and I was like, oh my word. So I went home, and I was just married, and we had a dog. So I scrapbooked my dog. And it was the worst layout I have ever seen in my entire life. They said don't. Okay, so back in the day, we used to crop our photos by using a template, and you'd circle your photo with a China marker or something that you could rub off the photo, and then you'd crop your photo. So I have this, I didn't have a China marker, so I thought, okay, I'll be fine. I'll just crop I'll just make sure to stay in the line. and I used a pen and I went around, and you can see the pen marks where I tried to actually cut this picture out. and then it was on. So I decided, okay, well, it's black and white. My dog's black and white, so I made this page just black and white. And then, oh my word, I go ahead and I decide, okay, I'll use this checkered black and white paper. And I made these like mats that were probably a 1/2 inch, because that was the size of the template I had. And then I thought, oh, I'll just use some red. Oh, it was horrible.
I'm trying not to laugh.
It's hilarious. But I mean that
I've
was
been there, done that.
Right? It's been quite. Yeah. So I mean, if you think my husband and I have been married 25 years, that's how long I've been scrapping. Yeah, I like to think I've improved since then.
Okay, now one thing I started talking about, and then I got distracted because, squirrels. Nancy does teach for us. Now, what sort of classes do you like to teach, and what product do you like to teach with?
Sorry?
What type of classes do you teach, and what is your favorite brand or product to teach with?
Okay. So I have to say, I can't rank. I have a really hard time with this question because I find I'm quite versatile. I can do a lot of things. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time now, but I think my current joy is really anything that I can bring a little bit of mixed media into. So if I can bring some inks and paint into it, and then some layers. I love layers. And as far as companies, I would say Stamperia, Paper Artsy, and Minte are probably my top. If there's something that comes in with them, you'll probably see a class from me with those.
And what types of things do you teach?
Lately, I've gone down the road of journals and interactive scrapbooks. So I'll have 12 by 12 pages that have some flips and folds and pockets in them. I do really enjoy making our own books. I'm really into bookbinding. So if I can find a way to have us start from scratch with paper and create it from the ground up, then I'm jazzed about it. So making your own journals, the interactives, and I think in the future you'll see some stuff with collage and 49 and Market. I don't doubt you'll see some of that too. So I try to do things that are kind of versatile. So if I do a journal, I like people to think about it how they want to use it. Could you use it to take with you traveling? Could you add photos to it and follow the theme? And so if it was Sir Vagabond in Japan, if you want to do anything Asian, you could put that in there, or write, or maybe you want to turn your journal into a writing journal. I don't like to actually say what you need to use your journals for that I do. You can continue to art journal in them. That's sort of my thinking on those. I'm sort of the same with the interactive journal, scrapbooks as well. That kind of answer the question? Yeah, 49 Market's freaking amazing. I don't have anything in reach to show you guys. Well, I have this. This is going to go up at the store.
I was just going to say, why don't you show them what you just showed me? I just put up that comment by Tony. I just put up that comment by Tony.
With the Savannah line, and it has. Oh, thanks, Tony. You're the best. So I was playing with the Savannah line, and I wanted to make this little 6x6 journal out of craft paper, and I really was inspired and loved the Savannah line, but the chances of me actually going to Africa are pretty slim to none. I would love to, but I have to admit that I tend to be a bit of a homebody. So, I mean, I'll probably, who knows? I'll probably travel outside of North America, but I have a list that's longer than my arm, so we'll have to see. But I just started to play with the Savannah, and this basically turned into just a collage journal. Like, I don't plan to put anything more into it. It's a standalone piece, just to look at. It's not meant to, I'm not going to write in it. It's just what it is. So it's not quite complete, and I will have it at the store, but that's the cover. And then we've got the inside pages. I did do this as a pocket, but it doesn't have to stay that way. Or I might tuck something in there. We'll have to see. Like I said, I'm not quite done. Definitely brought some jute cord in because holy crap, does that look awesome with this stuff. This is probably one of my favorite pages. What's my #1 travel destination? Australia has been my dream place since I was probably 20. But now that I've married my husband and have this Italian last name, I think that's probably #2. I'd like to go to Italy. So yeah, so I hope to have this in store for people to flip through and be inspired, and maybe scrap lift some of it as an element for your pages. Or I mean, I certainly could be Savannah Zoo pages. I mean, certainly don't limit yourself to Africa. I mean, goodness. Oh, my mask. That's all the way upstairs. I can't grab it. Yeah, that mask was popular. I actually bought extra, and I'm thinking of trying to do a mask class in the future, but I kind of am interested in potentially doing not doing Savannah. I'm actually kind of thinking 49 and Market or Minte. I'll have to see what comes in that kind of tickles my fancy, so to speak. But I try to think a little outside the box. I try to, I watch what the big guys are doing, Antonis and Vicky Booten, and while I'm inspired by them, I try to come up with something that's my own. So yeah, there's always that worry that you're stealing somebody's stuff, but yeah. Exactly. I have pages framed or great wall decor. I'm going to start putting more of my stuff out in my house. I haven't done that, and I don't know why. Ooh, Kaisercraft. Kaisercraft is gorgeous stuff for sure. All right, I'm just going to give this a quick dry. I'll keep watching your comments and questions. Exactly. We're all inspired by someone. Yeah, so one of my favorite ways to try to inspire myself is to take somebody like Antonis and look at his stuff closely and figure out, how did he layer that? How did he create such dimension? And then pick out a different line like Minte or 49 and Market and kind of use those techniques and challenge myself to go take those particular lines to another level.
Okay, so while I was dealing with the gremlins in my craft room, I just decided to do something like this. So this just started as a white piece of paper. I used my Distress Embossing Dabber. Sorry, not Distress. It's the Embossing Dabber by Ranger. There is a Distress one by Tim Holtz. And I just swiped it across my paper, dumped my embossing glaze on, and then heated it, and then continued with my lines. So that I'm thinking would be really cool if I add some ink to it and then use this and die cut out, you know, butterflies or flowers. I think that would be really cool. So I think we're almost done, Nancy.
I would think, yeah.
I know I've had fun playing.
Well, I could play all night, but I'm pretty sure people have other things to do. I'm just going to finish this one up. What? No, I'm still on camera.
Oh, oops.
What?
There you go. No, sorry.
Aw.
Oh, is your family saying, are you done yet?
Oh, Nathan's sad. The dogs had to go home.
Oh. Okay, before we go, and I haven't even showed Nancy this yet.
Uh-oh.
So I've been teasing about a free demo that I'm going to be doing, and that is a Jofi retailer exclusive that they gave from the last release, and I've just been so busy I haven't been able to do it. So I actually finished it yesterday. So this is going to be a free demo, and I'm going to be taking pictures and posting this, and then this will be happening, I believe, next Tuesday night. I need to check the schedule, but this is going to be one of those ones that's going to be in a private Facebook group, and you will need to pre-register because we'll have to give you the information. But yes, this will be my Jofi free paper artsy retailer exclusive, and it is using her new release. So I'll be posting this information tomorrow, and then you can start registering for it. It will be free, wide open, and it will be recorded. So if you can't join on the day and time, you will be able to just watch it on replay. So yeah, there you go. So watch for that. So I hope you've enjoyed tonight, meeting Nancy, getting to know a little bit about Nancy. I think it's really important that you learn a little bit more about our creative team. So I think having them come on camera with me, and it looks like Heather's interested. So maybe next week it will be Heather.
Yay, Heather!
I will talk to Heather about it. Maybe next week will be Heather next week. Okay, perfect. Well, that is it for us. I want to thank you guys. Here, let me just do this so you can see our faces. Oops. There we go. So thank you for joining me tonight, Nancy. I know it was like, I don't know what was going on there.
Oh, it's all good.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Roll with it.
So thank you for joining me. Oh, show me your last tag there. Can you hold that tag up that you made? That's fantastic.
So that's a rustic wilderness glaze.
Nice. Wonderful. Ooh, there we go. So I want to thank you guys for joining us. That was a lot of fun. I apologize for the technical difficulties we were having. Hopefully I get it worked out by next week. But yeah, everything was working fine until Julia touched one button, and then everything just sort of fell apart. Oh, well, that's how it goes. That's how it goes. Okay, so thank you so much, everyone. And I want you to have a great evening. And thank you so much for joining us for episode 5 of Monday Night Live. And we'll be back next week. And I think it's going to be Heather. Heather, am I going to get you locked in? Are you going to say yes? Yeah, Renee, I'm definitely going for more wine. I don't know what's happening right now.
Wine and Flames game.
Yes, the Flames game. I'll go do that. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. And thank you, Nancy. Have a great night.
Thank you, everybody.
Talk to you later. Bye.